Hi guys, welcome to the 3D market commentary for today, which is Monday, start of the week. Wishing you guys a good trading week for the week ahead. So just to briefly explain what is the 3D market commentary? What's the point? Why are we doing this? Every day we send out an email which has information on for 5 of the major markets in the world, and then we do a video in the mornings New York time to explain a little bit as to how we came to those conclusions, where we got that information, for those of you that might want a little bit of a background to what you get on that news flash, on that email that goes out. So just by the way, if you don't already get that email coming through and you'd like to, you can go to tradewithufos.com/Becky. I'll just bring that up now. If you go to there, you can set up a free Trade with UFOs membership at the top there. Just put in your name and email address and just follow through the steps. It's very easy. You will then get automatically every day this email that I'm about to go through. You'll get that through every day. Another good thing about this is that you can come down and you can ask questions once you've got a membership and sign in. You can ask questions in a public space, which means other people can see the answers. So for example, there are some questions down here and you'll see that there are some answers on there. So if you have a question, it might be that you come here and the answer is already there because somebody else has already asked it. Or it might be that you have a question that somebody else hasn't asked yet, and then you can ask it, we can answer it, and it's there publicly for other people to come and learn from the same place. So you can use this link for many things, tradewithufos.com/Becky, like I said, asking questions in a public space, but also to get this news flash that I'm about to go through. You just need to set up a free membership and you'll get access to both of those things. Okay, so I just need to make sure that we go through the disclaimers. I'm just going to put that up on the screen now. There you go. So disclaimers are obviously important legally, that you guys read them and understand them. Essentially what we're saying is that everything we do when we do these kind of videos are demonstrations of how we use the technology and how we apply the methodology. It's ultimately up to you as an individual trader, whether or not you ignore us completely, whether you take it on board completely, whether you do something in between, whether you trade live, simulated, don't trade at all. Ultimately, those things are up to you. We're just showing you how we do things. It's up to you to take it as you will. Okay, so just to say, last thing before we start, my name is Becky. I should have said that. My name is Becky, and my email address is becky@tradictive.com. So you can email me if you have questions. Otherwise, use the tradewithufos.com/Becky link so that your question can be public and I can answer it publicly. And again, everybody knows what's going on. Okay, so this is the email that we send out every day. Let me just bring it up here. And it corresponds with market data. So let's bring up the chart. So we call it a 3D approach because we're going through 3 major things, 3 major elements here. So let's just highlight that. So the first thing that we go through is market climate. Market climate essentially is where do we have the probabilities? Do we have an upwards climate and therefore probabilities to the upside? Or do we have a downwards climate and therefore probabilities to the downside? Or do we potentially not have probabilities either way? And that's what we use our AutoClimate app for. That's what we have down here. So the AutoClimate app is a free app. You can download it. Once you've got your free membership, you can download it. And this app is scanning through market data and coming back and telling us where the probabilities lie based on statistics and data. So it will come back and it will show us either, let's say, a thick blue dot, like one of those. That would tell us that we have probabilities to the upside if it's a thick blue dot. If it's a thick red dot, like we have there, that would tell us we have probabilities to the downside. And if it's a thin dot of either colour, like say here or here, if it's a thin dot, that's the AutoClimate app's way of telling us that we don't have probabilities either way. So we'll look at that per market. Again, where do we have probabilities? By the way, we're using a daily chart for each of these markets. So of course, different things happen on different time frames. If you use bigger or smaller time frames, things will be different. But these are the data for the climate and other things that we'll go through for a daily chart for each of these markets. So we'll go through market climate. Then we'll go through buy and sell UFOs. UFO stands for unfilled orders. Essentially what that means is that in the markets we have buy orders that are waiting to happen, waiting to kick in. And we have sell orders that are waiting to happen, waiting to kick in. So on a chart, we use our AutoUFO app. It kind of looks like this. We see little flying saucers. And it highlights to us where we have buy orders or sell orders. If they're green, if the UFOs are green, then it's buy orders. If they're red, then they're sell orders. I'll show you that in a minute on a different chart. So this is showing us where we have likelihood that the price is likely to turn. We have loads of buy orders coming into the markets, loads of buying coming in, it's likely to push price up. If we have loads of selling coming in, it's likely to push price down. So it helps us to be specific as to where exactly we're going to buy and sell so that we can buy with a bunch of buy orders that are going to push price up, or sell with a bunch of sell orders that are going to push price down. So again, we look for that on a chart, and we use the technology to highlight for us exactly where that is. And then we look at market volatility, which is essentially how quickly we expect price to move. So that gives us an idea of risk to reward, because normally the higher the volatility, the higher the risk, but also potentially the higher reward. The lower the volatility, the lower the risk, potentially the lower reward. So it gives us an idea of the speed that we can expect in these markets, which again gives us an overall view, our 3D approach here, as to where the probabilities lie, exactly where we could get in or out for the UFOs, and whether or not there's a high or low risk involved in that market. So we'll look at that for each of the five markets on a daily chart. Okay, so let's start with the S&P. That's what we have here. That's the first one that we have. So for the S&P, when it comes to market climate, we have a current downwards climate, and it is confirmed. We see that because we have a thick red dot on the AutoClimate app, just telling us probabilities to the downside. Now we also have these stats here. So these stats tell us how long a market usually goes in that direction for, and how long we're currently going in that direction. So it gives us an idea of whether or not we still have probabilities for a continuous move in that direction or not, based on what usually happens, based on statistics. So normally the market would come down for 3 candles, and we're on candle number 2. So that tells us that we've got probabilities of another move to the downside, maybe for another day or so. Now that's not to say that it's always exactly happens. Of course, we fall short of what is normal. We go past what is normal. It's somewhere in the middle of that we have our normal, that we have our average. So of course this could go past it. Of course it could change today. But again, just based on statistically what usually happens, we've got probability of another day or so to the downside. Now when it comes to buy and sell UFOs, we have no sell UFOs above us, as we can see here, no red UFOs. It's just because we're just come off of all-time highs, we don't have the data above us, so we don't know where the sell orders are, hence why the app isn't picking them up, because they're not there. Then we have a buy UFO, which is this one here, which has already just started to work. The numbers for that are 3878.75 to 3796.25. And you can see here, price has come in, hit the top line of our UFO. Again, we see the prices on the right-hand side. That shows us the range of price that we have these buy orders. It's hit the top stack of orders, and it's moved upwards, which is what we would expect buy UFOs to do, is push price up. Now, whether or not it's going to change price entirely and push it up forever from there, or whether or not we just see small movements, yet remains to be seen. But it's already working, doing what we would expect it to do. Okay, so overall with the S&P, yes, we have probability to the downside with the climate, but we've just hit a big stack of buy orders. So we've kind of got 2 different forces there moving against each other. We have sell orders coming in from the climate, but buy orders coming in from our UFOs, kind of fighting each other. I would personally choose to keep out of that. I don't want to get involved in that fight. I want to see who wins and then jump on that. But again, just so you guys know, we've got 2 different forces there moving against each other. So when it comes to market volatility, we would expect a movement up or down in one day of 52.54 points. In 1 week, a movement up or down of 115.67 points, or in a month up or down of 240.79 points. So again, gives us an idea of the movement we can expect up or down within these given periods of time. And then we can use our climate and UFOs to help us figure out in which direction that's more likely to happen. In this case, we don't have a clear direction one side or the other, because the forces are kind of competing against each other. So at the moment, like I said, for me, I would be keeping away from that. Okay, moving on to the next market. Let's have a look. So just to say, in the meantime, whilst I load this, we're looking at oil. That we do have, as you see there, different courses. So we have courses in futures, which are the contracts that we're looking at here. Just to say before, we were looking at the S&P, which is the top 500 US stocks. Now we're looking at futures contract that represents these things. So we're essentially looking at, right now, a representation of crude oil. Before, we were looking at a representation of the US stock market. So we're using futures throughout. Let's say you're watching this and you've never traded futures before, but you'd like to learn how to do it. We have a course how to do that. Or maybe you already trade stocks, but you want to learn how to trade Forex, or vice versa. Or maybe you want to understand how to build a trade plan, how to backtest it, how to manage your trading psychology. So you have all of those different courses that you can take. Some of them, or most of them, come with 3-month complimentary access to the apps. Now, AutoClimate is a free app anyway, AutoUFOs, depending on which platform you use, comes with a cost, but it comes for free as part of most of the courses. So I'll explain that again in a second. Okay, so looking at crude oil, we have a confirmed downwards climate. We see that again because we have a thick red dot here, so we have probability to the downside. Now, usually this market would go down for 7.22 candles. I'm going to round that up to 8. So whatever the decimal places here are, if we have them, I'm going to round it up. So normally this market goes down for 8 candles, so 8 days, considering this is a daily chart. And we're on candle number 2, which means based on what usually happens, we have probability of a continuous move down for the next week or so in oil. Again, not to say that's definitely going to happen, it's just more likely to happen based on statistics. So probability to the downside there. When it comes to UFOs, we have sell orders. So this is our first experience now of sell orders today. So red UFOs show us sell orders, and the numbers for that are 66.40 to 63.60. We then have some buy orders below us, numbers for that, 57.29 to 54.81. Now at the moment, we're sort of here-ish, we're kind of in between them, slightly closer to the sell orders maybe. Probably not close to either one of them enough for them to have impact today, perhaps. Based on the volatility, I would think no. But again, just bear in mind, overall, we have probabilities to the downside with the climate there, and at least room for it to move for the next few days before we were to hit either stack of buy or sell orders, which again could change how things go. But overall, probability to the downside there. Now, when it comes to market volatility, we would expect a movement up or down in one day of 1.71 points, in 1 week up or down of 3.76 points, and in 1 month up or down of 7.83 points. Again, that's what we would expect up or down within those given periods of time. We use climate and UFOs to help us figure out in which direction that's more likely to happen. And with crude oil at the moment, overall, we would say more likely to happen to the downside. Okay, moving on to the next market, which is gold. Now, as I said, I would explain very quickly how it works with the AutoUFOs. As we said, the Also Climate app is free, so you can get this as part of your free membership. Just go to tradewithufos.com/Becky, get yourself a free membership, and then you can download the Auto Climate app for free. The AutoUFO app, which by the way, I'm just going to squidge price a little bit there so we can see buy and sell orders. There we go. The AutoUFO app, which is plotting for us on the chart exactly the numbers as to where we find buy and sell orders, which helps us with our entries and exits and to be much more specific about how we do things when we trade. That is a paid for app. It depends on which platform you use as to how much it costs. For TradingView, which is the one I'm using now, it's $34 a month, or you can have yearly discounts. Again, they come for free as part of the courses. So depending on what you want to do, you might be able to use these apps for free for 3 months. Okay, so with gold, we have market climate and unconfirmed upwards climate. So we know that because we have a thin blue dot. It doesn't actually matter that it's blue. The fact that it's thin is all we need to know. If it's a thin dot, it's telling us we don't have enough probabilities to call it. If we don't have enough probabilities to call it, leave it alone. There's no point trading for the sake of trading, placing trades for the sake of placing trades or filling time. It will end up being more likely a waste of time and a waste of money. So if the Auto Climate app is coming back and telling us not enough probabilities either way, no problem, we move on to another opportunity. So in the case of gold on a daily chart, again, no probabilities either way. Okay, so when it comes to buy and sell UFOs, we have sell orders up here. Numbers for that are 1815.2 to 1782.2. We have buy orders, which are just here. Numbers for that, 1652.8 to 1624.4. Again, we're kind of in the middle, in between them at the moment, not close enough to either one of them for them to really have an impact today based on usual volatility. So again, we're just kind of sitting in the dark here with gold, not really knowing what's going on. We don't have probabilities with the climate, and we're not close to stacks of buy or sell orders that could change things and push price one way or the other. Of course, sometimes new orders come into the markets. Of course they do. New things happen. News happens, movement happens, but as far as what we know now, based on the statistics and data that we have, kind of can't call it on gold. So I would keep away from it, really. Look at something else. When it comes to market volatility, I'm going to cut off the words there. We would expect movement up or down in 1 day of 18.07 points, In 1 week, we'd expect movement up or down of 39.77 points. In 1 month, we would expect movement up or down of 82.79 points. So overall, like we said with gold, that's what we would expect up or down within those given periods of time. We would use our climate and UFOs to help us figure out in which direction that's more likely to happen. But with gold, we don't have clear probabilities either way. So again, we just keep away from it. No problem. There's loads of other things to trade. So we'll move on to the next market. In the meantime, just to say here, we do coaching. So you might be somebody thinking, I don't really want to take a course, or I've already taken a course, or I'm using the apps or downloaded it, but I'm not really sure exactly how to use them or how the methodology works. You can join us on our coaching where you can watch us, different instructors, place trades in real time using these apps, using the methodology. It's $21 a month for the coaching, or again, you can have yearly discounts. There are also some coaching that we do for free on YouTube as well, so I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so let's have a look at the next market, which is the most influential market, the US dollar. Now, the US dollar by itself is responsible for about 80% of transactions worldwide every single day. So whether you trade it or not, be aware of it. Be aware of what it's doing, because it will undoubtedly impact other markets. It will impact all of the other markets that we go through today on these commentaries and loads of others. So be aware of it. So with the dollar, we have a confirmed upwards climate. We can see that because we have a thick blue dot on our Auto Climate app, so it tells us probability to the upside. Usually this market would go up for 5 candles, again I'm just rounding it up, and we're on candle number 2. So we have probability that it continues to move to the upside. So bear that in mind. Again, probability to the upside and probability to continue. When it comes to buy and sell UFOs, we have sell orders a little way ahead of us there. Numbers for that are 94.33 to 93.245. And then we have buy orders, which are already working. The numbers for that are 91.405 to 90.635. Now, just to say, obviously, we had price came in, hit the top of the range of those buy orders, went up, came back, hit the top of the range of those buy orders, went up again. So it's already done exactly what we expect buy orders to do, is push price upwards. And again, we use the AutoUFO app to highlight for us where they are, so that we don't have to think about it or run all of that data. The app is doing it for us and saying, hey, this range of price, this is where we have buy orders. And they've done exactly what we expect them to do, which is push price upwards in this case. When it comes to market volatility, we expect movement up or down in 1 day of 0.37 points, in 1 week up or down of 0.81 points, and in 1 month up or down of 1.68 points. So again, overall with the dollar, probability to the upside, we have a confirmed upwards climate with probability that it continues, and just come off of a stack of buy orders which usually push price up. So overall probability to the upside there with the dollar. Okay, so as I said, we do things on YouTube, so you're probably already watching this on YouTube, or maybe you're watching it on Facebook or something. Here we go, Bitcoin on the chart as we say this. We do loads of different sessions on YouTube, so if you're just watching this, but maybe you haven't found us elsewhere before, or haven't found anything else on YouTube before, we do YouTube sessions on stocks, futures, forex, options, the methodology itself, sharpening points of it, psychology. And again, YouTube is free, so you can access us for free on YouTube. The difference between YouTube and the paid for coaching is that we usually run about half the session on YouTube for free, and then the rest of it is done in the closed session for the people that pay for the coaching. So you're still getting access to us placing trades, still watching us have the use the methodology. It's just the paid for coaching people get more of our time. But it's the same thing. We're still going to be going through the same markets and doing the same things. You just have more of our time in the paid for coaching. Okay, so when it comes to Bitcoin, which is our final market, we have a confirmed upwards climate, probability to the upside. We see that because we have a thick blue dot, so probability to the upside there. Now, we are kind of in the dark with Bitcoin at the moment as to how long it usually goes up or down for, because it's a newer market. It's not been around long enough for us to have the amount of data on these bigger time frames to say this definitely happens, or this normally happens, or this is statistically likely. So kind of in the dark there. What we do know is that we're on candle 11 to the upside, but we don't know whether or not that's usual, or whether or not we've gone past what is usual or not, because we just don't have the data yet. So with Bitcoin, when it comes to buy and sell UFOs, a bit weird there with my mouse. I seem to have lost it. There we go. So we have no sell orders above us. Again, kind of similar to the S&P, we've got no sell data above us, so nothing there. We have buy orders at 52,600 even to 49,602.5. That's where we have our closest stack of buy orders. So overall with Bitcoin, probability to the upside with the climate plus buy orders below us, no sell orders above. So overall probability to the upside there. Now when it comes to volatility, we would expect movement up or down in one day of 3,129.74, which is quite a lot. We have in 1 week movement up or down of 6,889.80, and in 1 month we have movement up or down of 14,342.27. So these numbers are relatively big if you take it as a percentage of the current value, especially more than the other markets. Bitcoin and cryptos in general do tend to be more volatile than others. It's not a good or bad thing, it just is, just be aware of it. Volatility increases risk, but it could also increase reward. If you don't like volatility, maybe keep away from markets like this. If you love volatility, then these are probably more your kind of market. So again, either way, it doesn't matter as long as you understand what volatility means, how you feel about it, and then you can either keep away or go towards it depending on what you think from there. Okay, so that then brings me on to this weekly economic calendar. So the weekly economic calendar, what we do here is we highlight high impact news. By the way, we use the FX Street economic calendar, and we filter by high impact news by many different countries, because obviously people trade things from all over the world. And then we have an understanding from that, do we have high impact news that is likely to add volatility? Now, we don't necessarily care what the news is, what it says, what's expected, what the actual report says, because then we have to interpret that subjectively before we trade. What we want to know is, are there likely to be news articles or reports coming out that create volatility, that, again, depending on how we feel about volatility, might change the way we trade, whether or not we keep away from those markets, whether or not we just reduce our risk a little bit or place less trades, but just to be aware of it, and then we can interpret it as we feel for us as individual traders. So for today, being Monday, I'm not sure on that one, I think that's already come out. So for today, on Monday, we've already had a speech in the US which could have impacted the markets and increased volatility. So again, just be aware of it. And then we've got information coming out tomorrow for the pound, for the dollar, for the Japanese yen, and for the, I assume by the flag there, that is Israel. So again, lots of news coming out all the time, not necessarily a big deal, but just be aware of it. Okay, so that's me done. That's kind of rounded up for today. Just to say, you might have been watching this, and maybe this is the first time you've watched one of these. Maybe you've watched it every day, but you might be thinking, I don't know whether or not I should be trading stocks, or maybe Bitcoin is better for me, or actually no, that's too volatile. I want to go and trade oil and gold. How do I do that? How do I trade futures? How do I trade stocks? How do I trade future and Forex? Should I be trading all of them or just one of them? Should I use the app? Should I not? Should I use the coaching? Should I not? You might be overwhelmed and confused, which is normal especially if you're new to this world. So you can schedule a clarification call with us, chat to one of our experts, figure out what's going to be better for you. Even if that's not trading at all, sometimes that's the answer. But if it is that you're still going to trade, then how are you going to do that, and how are we going to be able to help you? What of the resources that we provide are going to be better for you? So you can speak to somebody through that link there. Okay, any other questions? As I said, you can go to www.tradewithufos.com/Becky. Get yourself up a free membership. You'll get the news flash that I've gone through, so that email that I've gone through today, you'll get that through every day, and obviously in written form. And then you can also come down here and ask a question in a public area and get the answer in a public area for everybody else to learn from it as well. Otherwise, you can email me, becky@tradictive.com. Hopefully this made sense. Hopefully it just gives you a little bit more background and understanding as to how we come up with those numbers, where we get them from, and how we're using the apps very briefly. You can join us on YouTube for free as well, so you can follow us on more things if you'd like. Otherwise, guys, I will be back on Thursday. It'll be my colleague Boyan will be taking it tomorrow and Wednesday. So I'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully you guys have a great trading week ahead, a great day today,